The international company has terminated a management agreement with its Nigerian unit.
It had given the business about 3 weeks to phase out the Etisalat brand in the country. Chief Executive Officer Etisalat International, Hatem Dalwida, said the exit became necessary since the firm could not convert some of its dollar debts to naira.
Yes, indeed. And Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, that's the regulatory body, and the Central Bank of Nigeria recently intervened to save the firm from collapse after it failed to pay the remaining $589 million from a $1.2 billion loan it took from a consortium of 13 banks. Well, we have in the studio the first Vice President of the Association of Telecoms Companies of Nigeria, ATCON. That's Engineer Tony Nwosu. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. It's my pleasure.
Now, the NCC's intervention to save Etisalat Nigeria failed in spite of the fact that almost 50%, about 42% of the loan had been paid. Was it a hasty decision by the parent company to actually pull out?
Well, one may not say so because it's purely a business transaction, you know, that went sour because everything actually about the transaction depended on the banks. Okay, the banks were the ones that gave the loan, and the Etisalat management made efforts to renegotiate the loan. Okay, and that failed. You know, even the CBN and NCC intervened also to see whether the negotiation could be furthered, but the banks refused.
All right.
So that was where we got to, you know, where we are now.
To where we are now.
Yes.
And of course, there is need, according to many analysts, that for Etisalat Nigeria to recapitalize, for it to be able to run its business smoothly and find a suitable recapitalization mechanism for itself to even thrive. And that is for it, if it wants to maintain its market share and, of course, gain more subscribers. But as it were now, it seems that there are more problems ahead for Etisalat Nigeria. Do you foresee it too?
Well, it's a difficult situation, but I see it as a temporary setback. You know,
okay.
I don't think it's going to threaten their operations in Nigeria.
What really are the options out there for the company Nigeria Etisalat? Of course, there's Etisalat, the parent company, saying we give you 3 weeks to stop using the name Etisalat. So what's the way forward then?
Well, it's normal, you know. I mean, anytime a core investor pulls out from an organization, you know, and if you're going to have new investors, then there's always a change of them. So it's normal. We've had it with Airtel when it was formerly Connect, V Networks, V Mobile, Airtel, Zen. So as you keep on changing from one core investor to another, it's normal. And it depends on how they manage the transition.
Make us understand this. Let me cut in here.
Yes.
Can you really describe the Etisalat parent company as a core investor?
Yes.
They took a loan from Nigerian banks. When you talk about foreign direct investment, which I guess this is what the parent company did coming into Nigeria,
yes,
one would have expected that they come in with their money and not necessarily take monies from Nigerian banks.
And leave them to thrive.
Help us understand this.
Well, they are still core investors because when you talk about core investors, you have to look at the equity capital. So depending on the equity structure they had at that time when they came in, okay, they were the core investors. ETI had about 45%, and Mobadala had about 40%. That's about 85%. While EMTS Nigeria had just 15%. So if you came up with the equity structure of $300 million, for instance,
yes,
okay,
and they had 85%. So as at that time, but, you know, as business grows, you need capital, and that's how they came to Nigerian banks to borrow that amount of money.
All right, so what do you foresee now, since EMTS says that it has a subsisting and valid agreement with Etisalat Group to continue to use the brand name, and of course Etisalat Group says that, like she said, we are giving you 3 weeks to change that name. Do you foresee a lawsuit in place? And if EMTS is right, could continue to use that name?
What then? Well,
I don't know the nature of the agreement they had, but if the major investor, the core investor, has told you, I'm giving 3 weeks. Like I told you, in the case of the time Vodacom pulled out of Nigeria in 2004, okay, V Networks, within a few days, came up with V Mobile. So they can actually adopt a pseudonym as a trading name, okay, for within this
But can
period.
decide not to if they don't want to, if it's in the agreement?
Yeah, but it's better to err on the side of caution, do you understand?
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, you have to look at the impact on the industry, the consumers and everywhere. So if those are made, if you use the brand name, like I said, you don't know what the agreement said. The agreement would have also said that, look, once we pull out, You drop
That's
the,
it.
you drop the brand. Yes, I don't know the details, but that's, if you look at, I've given instances of other people, other investors that pulled out, like for instance from formerly Econet, okay, V Networks, V Mobile, and all that, and now we ended up with Airtel. So it's normal.
How mutually beneficial was this business agreement between the parent company, Etisalat, and the Nigerian arm? Was it really mutually beneficial? Because when you listen to what Dawida said in an interview with Reuters, he said the company will not risk more money compared to the reward for the long term, implying that there wasn't really any reward in this investment that actually brought them over 20 million subscribers.
Well, it's unfortunate, you know. I mean, it's also surprising, you know, to talk that way. But they know what they have first. But ordinarily, if looking at the Etisalat and even other countries where they operate, even in the United Arab Emirates, Afghanistan, I don't think there's anywhere where they have the number of subscribers they have in Nigeria. If you look at the MTN experience also, Nigeria, the Nigerian arm of MTN actually has the largest number of subscribers. So really, potentially, Etisalat Nigeria should have been one of their most profitable arms, if you look at it from the point of view of number of subscribers. But it's surprising that they are not breaking even, that they still have to run into this problem. But, you know, they have also explained that the loan was syndicated in dollars. And, you know, with
Forex,
yeah, exactly. So I think that's what caused the problem. But there may be other factors that are not open to the public.
All right, exactly. I was about to say that it seems there is more to it than meets the eye, especially the way Etisalat Group is handling this at the moment, saying that we don't want to have anything to do with the Nigerian arm anymore. Like, in fact, just change our name. We don't want to be in the country anymore. Of course, if you recall, the failed telecommunication companies in the country, what they went through, and then Muziiwa's testimonial a while back, you'd know that political anglings here and there. And so is it possible really that some underworkings could have
like I said, it's possible. You know, most as you talk about what you know, what they have brought up to the open is the issue of Forex differential. But there might be some other intrigues, you know, you can't rule out anything. So I think part of the task of the new management is to unravel, you know, do a kind of due diligence and find out if any other thing happen apart from the Forex challenge. And because any core investor may not put, you know, his money down if it is not clear what exactly happened.
And that's the point. How, to what extent really, as much as foreign direct investment is desirable for Nigeria at this time more than any time ever, do you see a case of some of these companies actually taking Nigeria for granted, seeing Nigeria as a place where they can just, you know, make money and pull out? When the going is good, we stay, but when it's bad, you know, we just pick our bags and live. And there seems to have been some kind of antecedents that has contributed to this. Another telco company that defaulted, of course, they met each other halfway, talking about the government and the telco company. Is that what some of these companies are taking advantage of?
Well, one may not make that kind of allusion on a general scale, because MTN is here as an example. You know, MTN has been in Nigeria, you know, and they've been operating, you know.
And it did run into murky waters?
Yeah, that was a kind of regulatory infraction with respect to SIM cards registration, you know, and they were given a fine. Okay, and of course, with the intervention of ADCON and some other groups, the government had to reduce the loan. I mean, not the loan, the fine, and also staggered it. Which is what's the problem that Etisalat has now, because they're trying to renegotiate that loan, but the banks said no. And if you are faced with that heavy loan, then it could actually collapse.
All right, let's bring in Foladele at this time to tell us what is happening on the social media as per the Etisalat trouble.
Hi again, ladies.
Hi again.
Good morning.
Okay. So let's find out how people have been reacting to this. The questions that are being asked, you know, what the implications of this are, of this is rather. That's what people want to know. So let's find out. Abike says, I've been burying my head in the sand over this Etisalat Nigeria thing. What does all this mean for people that have Etisalat lines?
That's a fundamental question.
Yes, and Etisalat Nigeria replied and said, hi, we're doing business as usual. As far as our service delivery and operations is concerned, nothing has changed. Al-Farabi says, no regard for the implication and jobs that would be lost. Needless to say that this will scare away prospective investors in the telecom. Demola Adetono says, all of these sponsored posts about Etisalat Nigeria closing down is so annoying. It is a lie. Restructuring does not mean closing down. Edafe Matt says, this one that I see tweets celebrating the supposed winding up of Etisalat Nigeria, are they considering the job loss and economic pain?
Another factor.
Maris Sule says, celebrate? They're not winding up. They just pulled out their brand name. They just pulled their brand name out. Another Econet to Airtel saga reloaded. Bosin Omafaye says, we're going to find out as things unpack what hits Etisalat Nigeria, bank loans or governance failure or business model. Tony, really quickly.
That really should be the question.
Yes.
What exactly?
What exactly hits them? That's what we'll be finding out.
Well, there are comments there, about subscribers, some of them panicking, what will happen to their lives.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of assurances from both Etisalat Nigeria, from NCC and some other parties that subscribers are going to continue to enjoy the quality services they've been enjoying, and I believe that should be so.
But as far as jobs go, people losing their jobs, that's another concern that's been raised.
There's no issue of losing any job.
Yeah, you don't think it would?
So it just a change of brand. Like I said, I told you, if you look at, in fact, when you talk about change could be for the better or for worse. It depends on how the management manage this opportunity. You understand? They may bring in another co-investor that will even take this company to a higher scale.
Whether education is already
yes, if you look at
brand.
Econet when they started, with all the transitions, they are far bigger now than when it was Econet or when it was VNet or when it was V-Mobile. So this change may actually be positive.
For good.
That's it.
Well, that's hopeful.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Paula Daly.
Of course, the new chairman of Etisalat Nigeria made that assertion as well, and says that they're even focused on getting more subscribers and, of course, making the business more viable. But there is the need, like you said earlier, to get investors that would get the largest share of that company's shares for it to be able to thrive. That was why I asked the question of recapitalization, and then for it to be able to break even and then start making profit and get a larger share of the market. Do you think it is possible, really?
I mean, to get another investor?
For anybody to want to put their money
with all this
on,
challenge, exactly, investment problem at this time.
Well, yes, it's possible. Do you understand? It's possible. So long as the facts are clear. You see, I mean, when it comes to investment, you look at the books.
What about the unknown factors?
That's what I'm saying. The new management now has to. You can't just call up any investor today and he will just bring money. So they would like to know what happened fully. So once there's full disclosure of what happened, so if there's some other risks, the person who is investing will factor those risks and even pay off. I mean, there's a way you accommodate those risks in terms of how much you're going to bring in.
Yes, indeed. So, another question that's been asked, what happens to the 13 banks that actually put their money on this company? What happens to them?
Yeah, the banks need not worry, because that's why, if you look at the new board that was constituted, it's actually headed by CBN Deputy Governor. So that is principally to protect the interests of the banks, because I mean the CBN is a banker's bank.
Yeah.
Okay, so the banks have depositors' money, and because the amount is huge. If you look at how much you're talking about, it could actually cripple even the Nigerian banks.
Indeed.
So having CBN, being the chairman of the board, someone from CBN, is actually to help to protect the banks.
Has the NCC, the regulatory body, really done a good job, whether in the case of Etisalat, in the case of MTN, and other telcos, in terms of really regulating them in such a way that they protect the interest of the customer?
Well, yeah, so far, I would say the NCC has done well, because the issue we have now has nothing to do with NCC, because this is a financial transaction between Etisalat and the banks. In terms of technical regulation and other aspects of corporate governance, with respect to mostly technical issues, NCC has done well and has won accolades in Nigeria and beyond for what it's been doing in terms of transparency and regulation generally. All
right, so would you say that the banks were somehow hostile in the way they took the decision to want to take over Etisalat Nigeria at the time they did, and they had to make authorities to rescue the telecom company?
Well, I may not rush to make that assertion, because you don't know how long they have been on this. What we are seeing is what happened within this 1 month. You don't know how long they have been, trying to, get their money back and all that. So maybe this is the last resort they had. But we thank God that at least with the intervention of NCC, CBN, at least we have a structure in place. Depending on how they manage the opportunity, like I said, it might turn out to be a change for the better, if they can get the act right.
Even in February, they still, paid part of these loan requirements.
Up to 42%.
Yes,
Thank you very
absolutely.
much anyway. Mr.
We'll
Anthony Nwosu, we have to wind it at this point.
Right.
Mr. Anthony Nwosu, the first Vice President of the Association of Telecom Companies of Nigeria. Thank you for coming for
Thank you very
analyzing
much.
the situation for us.